What's up, ladies? Coach Shawna here. I am going to go over today carb cycling to lean out. What this means is intentionally decreasing your carbohydrate intake for a set amount of time, cycling it with intentional maintenance carbohydrates for a set amount of time to help you lean out and get to a body composition you're aspiring to get to. Now, we understand that carbohydrates and fat are fuel sources for our body. So we have 3 ways to get energy, really. Well, 4 if you want to talk about ketones. But carbs and protein are converted into glucose, and fats are converted into fatty acids. So you guys have heard the term ketosis before. Ketosis is when your body is breaking down fat, and your liver will take some of those fatty acids and make ketones, and then your body can use those as a substitute for glucose. So that's why, like, you have the ketone strips. You hear the people that do keto, right? And they're doing the ketone strips. So ketosis is an indicator that we're using fat as fuel. When we carb cycle, we are intentionally depriving our bodies of a preferred fuel source, carbohydrates. And in turn, our bodies are going to require to use protein and body fat and dietary fat as alternative energy sources. So it will still use some protein, which is why when we carb cycle, we are exceptionally conscientious and cautious about making sure that we have a minimum protein level intake on board always, so that our bodies don't use our muscle, right, to make glucose or to repair our tissue from our workouts. So we always have minimums that we're hitting, and this is even more important when we're doing carb cycling. So cycling low with moderate or high carbs it does a few things. As a woman, it's going to give your body a break. So the female physiology really likes an adequate amount of carbohydrates from a reproduction standpoint. Our bodies will downregulate our sex hormones, our estrogen and our testosterone, to make it harder for us to get pregnant when we are in a low calorie or a low carb situation, because it's not an ideal time to get pregnant, right? It's an indicator that things are not okay. It doesn't know, I always say this joke, but it doesn't know we have a 7-Eleven down the street and we could go get Oreos. It just knows that there is not enough food around, and therefore I should downregulate everything to protect myself. So when we carb cycle, we are giving our bodies a break, and we are protecting our female hormones, which that is always an excellent indicator of overall health if you have a healthier menstrual cycle. And of course, if you're in menopause, it doesn't count the same. The other thing is adherence. It is a lot easier for someone to go 1 to 2 weeks being very strict and consistent and then getting a break versus, which is why everybody is successful for a week or 2 on a diet, right? Versus trying to go for 6 to 8 weeks with strictness and rigidity, especially with, as I make this video, it's coming up summertime, like you're going to have barbecues and going to friends' houses, birthday parties, things like that. You want to be able to enjoy yourself. So the fun thing about carb cycling is we're intentional with when we focus on that carbohydrate deficit, and then we decide, okay, like I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. Probably I don't want a carb cut right now. Maybe I'll do it for two or 3 weeks when I get home, and then I can cycle that and I can help my body lean out. So again, from an adherence standpoint, it's really beneficial. Now, when I have someone carb cycle, I generally will have my clients, and again, I'm working with women, go 1 to 2 weeks of 1 gram per pound of body weight plus some protein. Mentioning before, I am always protecting that lean muscle mass no matter what. I'm making sure that the body has enough to repair and recover. I don't want my athletes getting injured. I want that satiety, so I want my client to feel full and feel good while we're cutting. I don't want you ever coming to me saying I feel like crap. because that means that I have messed up your macros and you are not thriving when you should just be using an alternative fuel source. And then we do increase our dietary fat some, because when we cut out carbohydrates, we're cutting out calories, right? And we're going to create a small calorie deficit also while we're doing this carb cut, but I'm not trying to cut you down from maintenance of 2,400 calories to 1,400 calories. So I have to make sure that you're still getting adequate fuel, again, to protect that metabolism. And then I'm going to cut you somewhere to 75 to 100 grams of carbs for the most part. Most of my female athletes, this is where they do really well at. And again, we do it for 1 to 2 weeks. And then we give you a break. And that break is going to be 1 to 3 weeks of maintenance calories with that higher carbohydrate intake. And during that time that we are doing this cycle of cutting and maintenance, we are also managing your activity levels. We're making sure, especially when you're in your carb cuts, that you're getting 8 hours of sleep. And then we are listening to your body. Now, we take those carbohydrates that you're consuming, and we always make sure that we bookend training with them. So you have some carbs before training and some carbs after training. And then you're going to have some in the evening time for dinner, and then you're going to have some before bed. The dinner time carbs and the bedtime carbs are to make sure that your muscles are stocked with glycogen, which is your storage form of carbs. And we're making sure that you have enough carbohydrates for sleep, because you have to get good sleep, right? I could go into the whole consequences of bad sleep and how it produces cortisol, and cortisol breaks your muscle down. And we're trying to get you lean and strong, not skinny fat, right? So we want to make sure that we're protecting your systems at all costs. So again, you're cutting your carbohydrates and you're putting them before and after training. We're still bookending that training session. So I have some before to facilitate my fitness, and I have some after to facilitate recovery. Then I have some in the evening and before bed to make sure that I'm setting myself up for good sleep and the next day. Now, what does managing training look like when I'm cutting? Well, first, it means that you are not going crazy hard. So this nutrition course, this video is for ladies who participate in CrossFit and weightlifting. CrossFit and weightlifting are carbohydrate dependent sports. That means that when you start warming up and they have you doing inchworms and burpees and air squats, your body is using carbohydrates as its preferred fuel source. If we don't have a ton of carbohydrates on board, our body doesn't say, oh, that's cool, I'm just not going to do that energy system. It goes, no, hang on a sec. I got to make me some glucose, because that's how my aerobic respiration works, okay? Which then means that it has to figure out how to get that glucose. And again, it could make it from protein, or it can make it as ketones, which is an alternative fuel source to glucose. Okay, so this is also why you see men doing really well on keto, because their bodies thrive on ketone bodies. Our bodies don't work as well that way. So if your body has to say, hang on a second, let me figure out an alternative fuel source, right? It's not super efficient for something like CrossFit. So what I have my athletes do is I have them be mindful of how hard they are going in training. And I also have them be mindful of how heavy they are lifting and how often they are training. If you're somebody who likes to train 5 to 6 days a week and you go balls to walls, when we're carbohydrate cutting, I want to protect your cortisol levels. I don't want to stress your body out more, because then we're going to be chasing our tail. So I'm going to ask you to go chill. I'm going to ask you to do zone 2 cardio, which is conversational pace, chill, relax, get sweaty. I'm going to have you focus on hypertrophy training instead of heavy lifting, which means if you guys are programmed a 5x5 back squat, I may recommend that instead you do a 4x8 and work on endurance with light weight. I'm going to encourage you to take more rest days. I would rather see you resting and walking, which uses fat as fuel, than I would have you go 5 to 6 days and really be kicking your ass in a situation where you don't have your preferred easily accessed fuel source. That's the thing. Carbs are like nitro for our bodies, and our bodies, when we go do CrossFit, are like, yay, carbs, give me more. right? And if that's not the case, then it's gonna be taxing for your body. So we want to protect it. We want to set you up for success. And then the reality is that as you lean out, it is going to be more beneficial for you to spend less time cutting and more time in maintenance, because your body is going to adapt to whatever we do. It's called homeostasis. Our bodies are really good at it. It's why you'll see the woman that is frustrated because she's eating 1,200 calories a day and she can't make any changes with her body, because her body is adjusted to 1,200 calories a day. So when as my athletes get leaner and leaner, I take my cuts and I might have them cut for a week and maintain for a month, and then cut for a week and maintain for a month, because again, that minimizes stress on the body. B, that gets me my best compliance, because they start to get fatigued with cutting and burned out with having to be super strict with saying no to all of the things all of the time. And the more we're at maintenance, the more we get to build that muscle, the faster metabolism we have, right? So when we do create a carb cut, we're going to focus on just losing body fat as fuel. My ratio of body fat to muscle goes up. Every time I cut, I get a little bit more body fat off while protecting my lean muscle, and then I change my body fat percentage. So even with carb cutting, we're still playing the long game. The long game for body composition changes is going to always be your best bet, especially if you want to figure out your system for keeping it off. All right. Hit me up if you have any questions. This presentation was made for our 8-week nutrition program for women in CrossFit and weightlifting, trying to help women learn how to fuel their bodies for the most amazing sport ever. I might be slightly biased. If you want more information, link is down below. And for my athletes in the course watching this, I hope that you enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to all of your texts and messages on how to implement some carb cutting to help you reach your goals. Thanks for watching.